9 men are sitting at this table. None of them are eating. All of them are dead. And the man who arranged them like this isn't even in the city. This isn't a murder, it's a message, and it was written by the most dangerous person in House of the Dragon that nobody's making videos about. If you watched my last video, you know Episode 5 broke the Dragon Rider bond wide open with Vhagar and Aemond. This isn't that video again. This is the other half of the same episode, the half that explains why none of that even matters strategically. Because while Aemond was losing his mind at Harrenhal, a man who's never once ridden a dragon was quietly dismantling Rhaenyra's entire reign from 60 leagues away. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how he did it, why the bloody tableau in that barracks isn't just shock value, and why Rhaenyra was right to be afraid, while the one person she trusted most told her she was being paranoid. Quick groundwork on who we're actually dealing with, because the show has been quietly building this character into something much bigger than another Green Lord. Ormund Hightower commands the largest standing army left in Westeros. He's independently wealthy. He's Otto Hightower's nephew, cousin to Alicent and Gwaine, and since Lord Hobart Hightower's death, he's both head of his house and the legal guardian of Prince Daeron Targaryen, rider of the dragon Tessarion. That comparison isn't mine. It's baked into how the writers built him. Aegon II is a broken, absent king. Aemond is an unguided weapon, recovering in a haunted castle. Ormund is the only major player left standing, who is neither wounded nor unstable. And he spent the entire season proving that a clear head is worth more than any dragon in the sky. Let's actually look at what Daemon finds in that barracks, because every detail is deliberate. 9 senior city watch officers, including Sir Luther Largent, the same Luther who helped hand Rhaenyra the entire capital without a fight, seated upright around a long table. Tankards, candles, every visual cue of a communal meal, except the meal itself is their own viscera, laid out in front of them, and their eyes have been gouged out. Above them, written in blood, a feast for traitors. This isn't random cruelty. It's a direct visual quote of the Last Supper, communion turned into desecration. In green eyes, these men broke a sacred oath to their king the moment they opened the gates for Rhaenyra. Gouged eyes for failing to see their duty, their own insides on display as punishment for a betrayal that came from within. And it's not subtle that this is Ormund's answer to Rhaenyra's own theatrical cruelty, the rat banquet she staged for the nobility back in Episode 3. She humiliated the highborn with a meal. He executes her guards and calls it 1-2. The genius and the horror is that this took 0 dragons, 0 open battle, and a man who was never within 100 miles of the crime scene. Watch the scene where Ormund and Daeron play Savase together, because it's not a quiet character moment. It's a thesis statement for the entire season. Daeron questions the brutal, underhanded tactics being used against Rhaenyra's forces. Ormund's answer is a history lesson. Meria Martell, the so-called Yellow Toad of Dorne, who once beat back Aegon the Conqueror himself, not with dragons of her own, because she had none, but with patience, terrain, poisoned wells, and soldiers hidden exactly where no one expected them. Ormund's point to Daeron is blunt. Dragons are not gods. Their riders are just people, and people can be outwitted, isolated, and destroyed by anyone patient enough to stop fighting them where they're strongest. That's not a bedtime story. That's Ormund explicitly training the next Green King to think of the Targaryens as beatable, not through fire, but through cunning. Every assassination, every coin, every piece of graffiti we see this episode is Meria Martell's Doctrine, executed 100 years later by a man who never once has to leave his chair. Here's the part of Ormund's strategy that's actually the most dangerous, and it isn't violence at all. It's currency. Rhaenyra's treasury was gutted before she ever sat the throne. Tywin Lannister shipped the crown's gold out of the city before it fell. She can't pay her own city watch. Ormund, meanwhile, is using his personal Hightower wealth to mint private gold coins stamped with Daeron's face and funneling them into Fleabottom through hidden couriers. Those coins do 3 jobs at once. They bribe unpaid, disillusioned watchmen into becoming informants and assassins. They circulate a rival king's face among a starving population that Rhaenyra can't even feed, quietly making Daeron look like the more generous option. And when Daemon finally tortures a confession out of a captured graffiti artist and finds one of those coins in his boot, it's not an accident. It's Ormund's signature, left on purpose, so Team Black knows exactly who's coming for them and can't do a single thing about it from 60 leagues away. A functioning currency did more damage to Rhaenyra's reign in one episode than an entire army could have. It's worth asking, why would trained, oath-bound guardsmen turn on their own commanders for a handful of smuggled coins? Because Rhaenyra had already broken the deal first. Frozen wages, an empty treasury, a queen who spent her early goodwill on a symbolic rat banquet instead of paying the men actually defending her capital. Ormund didn't need to conquer loyal men. He only needed to find men who'd already stopped being paid to be loyal. And he had gold sitting in Oldtown, doing nothing. Once Luther Largent and his officers are dead, the institutional memory of the Gold Cloaks, the one force that physically delivered King's Landing to Rhaenyra in the first place, is gone with them. No command structure, no leadership, just a bribed, terrified, leaderless force standing between the Queen and a city that's already turning on her. Here's the detail that makes this whole episode devastating in hindsight. Rhaenyra already knew. Kneeling in the Grand Sept, she tells Daemon she senses a calculated pattern behind the dead gold cloaks. Something crouched, something deliberate, something with purpose. Daemon dismisses it. He calls Aemond a fox gone to ground, waves off her fear as wind in the towers, and tells her she's the Queen of Dragons like that title alone should be enough to protect her. Then the episode ends with Daemon himself walking into that barracks and staring at the proof that his wife was never paranoid. She was the only person in the room reading the war correctly. Rhaenyra has more dragons than anyone alive in Westeros, and by the end of this episode, she is losing the war anyway, because the fight was never happening in the sky. It was happening in her treasury, her barracks, and the loyalty of men she stopped paying attention to. So what's the terrifying truth behind A Feast for Traitors? It's not that Ormund Hightower is cruel. Plenty of people in this story are cruel. It's that he understood something Rhaenyra never did. A throne built entirely on dragonfire is only as strong as the unglamorous, boring infrastructure holding it up. The treasury, the guards, the coin in a soldier's pocket. Ormund never needed to beat a dragon. He just needed Rhaenyra to forget that dragons were never the whole war. Here's what I want to know. Now that Daemon has seen exactly what Ormund is capable of, do you think he abandons the search for Aemond to hunt Ormund directly? Or does pride keep him chasing his nephew while the real threat keeps operating untouched? Tell me your read below. I'm answering the best ones myself. And if you haven't seen it yet, I broke down the other half of this exact episode, why Vhagar actually abandoned Aemond, and what it means about power in this entire story. Links right here. Watch that next.